Dorothy Henderson had spent 32 years building her business empire from nothing. She'd started with a small repair shop in Ohio and turned it into a multi-million-dollar technology company. But none of that mattered anymore as she stood in her kitchen that Wednesday afternoon, holding a plate of homemade cookies she'd just baked for her daughter. The ceramic plate slipped from her hands and shattered on the tile floor. Chocolate chip cookies scattered everywhere, but Dorothy didn't even notice. Her eyes were fixed on the doorway, where her 15-year-old daughter Emily was standing. Walking actually, taking slow, careful steps into the kitchen with the help of a young man in a gray uniform. Emily had been paralyzed from the waist down since she was 7 years old. A car accident had stolen her ability to walk, and Dorothy had spent 8 years watching her bright, beautiful daughter navigate a world that wasn't built for wheelchairs. They'd tried every treatment, seen every specialist. Nothing had worked. Dorothy had learned to accept it, even as her heart broke a little more each day. But here was Emily taking one step, then another. Her face lit up with a smile so wide it could have powered the sun. Dorothy's knees went weak. She grabbed the kitchen counter to steady herself, her breath coming in short gasps. "Emily?" she whispered. "How?" The young man helping Emily walk was named Tom Morrison. He was 23 years old, fresh out of graduate school, and he looked almost as amazed as Dorothy felt. His blue eyes were bright with excitement as he guided Emily carefully across the kitchen floor. "Mrs. Henderson," Tom said gently, "maybe you should sit down. This is a lot to take in." Dorothy couldn't sit. She couldn't move. She could only watch as her daughter took another step, and another, until Emily was close enough that Dorothy could reach out and touch her face with trembling hands. "Mom," Emily said, and her voice was full of joy and tears all at once. "Mom, I can feel my legs. I can feel everything." Dorothy pulled her daughter into her arms, careful not to disturb her balance, and they both cried. They cried the way you cry when something impossible becomes real, when hope you'd buried deep in your heart suddenly blooms again like flowers in spring. Tom stood back and let them have their moment. He was patient, kind. When they finally pulled apart, Dorothy turned to him with questions in her eyes. "I don't understand," she said. "What happened?" "What did you do?" Tom helped Emily into a chair at the kitchen table, and Dorothy sat down beside her, still holding her daughter's hand like she might disappear if Dorothy let go. "It's going to sound strange," Tom began, running a hand through his sandy hair, "but I work for a research facility that's been developing new technology. Technology that's not exactly from around here." Dorothy frowned. "What do you mean, not from around here?" Tom took a deep breath. "My mother came to Earth 40 years ago. She's not human, Mrs. Henderson. She's from a place very far away, and she brought knowledge with her. Medical knowledge that's centuries ahead of what we have here. She's been working quietly, carefully, to help people without drawing too much attention. When I told her about Emily, about your family, she wanted to help." Dorothy stared at him. In any other circumstance, she would have thought he was crazy. But her daughter was sitting beside her, wiggling her toes in her sneakers, something she hadn't been able to do in 8 years. "Your mother is an alien," Dorothy said slowly. "Yes, ma'am." "And she fixed my daughter's spine." "Not exactly fixed," Tom explained. "She used something called neural regeneration therapy. It helps the body heal itself, encourages damaged nerves to reconnect and grow. It takes time and patience, but it works. Emily's been coming to our facility after school for the past 3 months." Dorothy turned to her daughter. 3 months? "Emily, why didn't you tell me?" Emily bit her lip, looking guilty. "Tom said we shouldn't get your hopes up in case it didn't work. I wanted to surprise you, Mom. I wanted to walk through the door and see your face." She laughed through fresh tears. "I just didn't expect you to drop a whole plate of cookies." Dorothy laughed too, a sound that came from somewhere deep in her chest, somewhere that had been tight and hurting for so long she'd forgotten what it felt like to breathe freely. "I'll bake more cookies," Dorothy said. "I'll bake 1,000 cookies." Over the next hour, Tom explained everything. His mother's name was difficult to pronounce in English, so everyone called her Dr. Lyra. She'd come to Earth as a young woman, fallen in love with a human man, and decided to stay. She'd spent decades learning human medicine while quietly applying the knowledge from her home world to help people who had nowhere else to turn. "She doesn't do it for money," Tom said. "She does it because she believes in kindness. She says that's the one universal truth she's found in all her travels. Kindness matters. It matters more than technology or power or knowledge. It's what makes life worth living." Dorothy thought about that. She thought about all the years she'd spent building her business, all the long hours and hard work. She'd done it to provide for Emily, to make sure her daughter had everything she needed. But somewhere along the way, she'd forgotten about the simple things. The cookies, the laughter, the quiet moments together. "I want to meet her," Dorothy said. "I want to thank your mother," Tom smiled. She'd like that. But first, Emily needs to rest. This is still new for her body. She can't walk all day yet. It'll take time to build up her strength. Emily nodded, but she was still smiling. "I don't mind. I've got all the time in the world now." They helped Emily to the living room couch, and Dorothy covered her with a soft blue blanket she'd knitted years ago. Emily fell asleep almost immediately, exhausted but happy. Dorothy and Tom sat in the kitchen, drinking coffee and talking quietly. Dorothy learned that Tom had grown up between two worlds, never quite fitting in anywhere but finding purpose in helping his mother with her work. "I used to be angry about it," Tom admitted, "being different, not being fully human or fully like my mother's people. But she taught me that being in between isn't a weakness. It's a gift. I can understand both sides. I can help build bridges." Dorothy nodded slowly. "I think I understand. I've spent so much time focused on Emily's limitations that I almost forgot to see her possibilities. She's been teaching me all along how to be strong, how to keep going even when things seem impossible." "She's a remarkable young woman," Tom said. "She never complained during the therapy, not once. Even when it hurt, even when progress was slow, she kept showing up. She kept trying." Dorothy felt her eyes fill with tears again, but these were different tears, proud tears. When Tom left that evening, Dorothy walked him to the door. "Thank you," she said, and the words felt inadequate for what she was feeling. "Thank you for giving me my daughter back." Tom shook his head gently. "You never lost her, Mrs. Henderson. She was always right here. We just helped her body catch up with her spirit." After he left, Dorothy went back to the living room and sat beside Emily's sleeping form. She watched her daughter breathe, watched her chest rise and fall in peaceful sleep, and thought about second chances, about kindness from unexpected places, about the mysteries of the universe that were bigger than her business deals and bank accounts. She thought about Dr. Lyra, a woman from the stars who chose to spend her life helping strangers on a planet that wasn't her home. She thought about Tom, a young man who could have done anything with his unique heritage but chose to follow in his mother's footsteps. And she thought about Emily, her brave, beautiful daughter, who had never given up hope even when Dorothy had. Sometimes the universe sends you exactly what you need, Dorothy realized. Not what you asked for, not what you expected, but what you need. And sometimes it comes in the form of kindness from the most unlikely places. Emily stirred on the couch, opened her eyes, and smiled up at her mother. "Mom," she said sleepily, "can we dance at my 16th birthday party next month? I've always wanted to dance with you." Dorothy's heart swelled. "Yes, sweetheart. We can dance." Outside, the sun was setting over Ohio, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Inside, a mother and daughter sat together in the warm glow of the living room lamp, planning a future that had once seemed impossible. And somewhere across town, a doctor from the stars was helping another family, one quiet act of kindness at a time. Because that's what matters in the end, not where you come from or what you have, but what you do with the gifts you're given, and whether you choose to share those gifts with others. Dorothy understood that now.